Welcome back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel. Delighted as always to be joined by Thomas, Owen, and Paul. This is the big fight breakdown video ahead of the big fight between Anthony Joshua and Francis Ngannou happening on Friday, March the 8th in Saudi Arabia, live on DAZN pay-per-view and Sky Sports pay-per-view as well. Gents, looking forward to this one. It's a bit different. Obviously, we all saw what happened when Tyson Fury fought Francis Ngannou last year. So, yeah, we've seen what Francis Ngannou can do. So we're looking forward to seeing how he compares against Anthony Joshua in a few days' time. Thomas, I'll start with you. You're obviously, for those that don't know, based in the States. Obviously Owen, Paul, and myself are based in England/Northern Ireland. How excited are you for this fight? It's a boxer against a UFC fighter. Joshua's one of the best heavyweights in the world, former unified world champion. You can be honest here. If you're not excited at all, please do tell us. We'll be a bit disappointed considering what we're here for. But yeah, how excited are you for this one?
I'm okay with it, just given the circumstances. I think it's definitely, given how good Francis did against Tyson Fury, it makes sense that he would get another fight like this. And, Josh was still kind of rebuilding himself after those losses to Usyk. So I think it makes sense, and I'm perfectly fine with it. Am I excited? Am I excited for it? Not really, to be honest. I don't really think it. I wouldn't be, uh, I wouldn't anticipate it as much as a Usyk Fury or anything like that. But I'll watch it. I think it will be entertaining, and I think it should also be it should definitely be a better style matchup. Um, in my opinion, than Tyson versus Ngannou.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I suppose with the Fury fight, we were going into a little bit of the unknown because we just didn't really know what Ngannou was going to do, what his capabilities were. And now we kind of do. And obviously, we know what Joshua can do. Joshua had an impressive performance last time out against Otto Wallin, so we will see. Paul, you're the Joshua super fan here. Um, what are your thoughts here? How excited are you for this one?
Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it. I put my hand up and say that when it was announced that Tyson Fury would be fighting Francis Ngannou first time around, I was like, I'm not getting involved in that. This is bullshit. It's not a fight. Like, I'm not interested in it. And I completely flipped on that, obviously, just because of how Francis Ngannou did against Tyson Fury. Like, whether he won or not, that's down for you to decide. But it was a fight. It was a real fight. He gave Tyson Fury a lot of problems. He surprised a lot of people, including myself, and I'd say everyone on this call. Um, so yeah, it's a fight that I'm looking forward to. Francis Ngannou's shown that he's coming into boxing he's not messing about. He's going in there straight away, fighting arguably the best heavyweight. Now fighting another one of the top three, top five heavyweights. And you know what? I wouldn't put it past him fighting then even more top fighters after this win, lose, or draw. So yeah, I am looking forward to it. As Thomas said, am I looking forward to it as much as I was the undisputed fight or potentially previous Anthony Joshua fights for world titles? No, but I'm looking more forward to this fight for Joshua than I was for Franklin, Lanius, and even Wallen last time out. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. And I can't wait to tune in.
Yeah, for sure. Only a few days away now. Owen, you infamously said that you think that Ngannou would beat Joshua on points. We'll move on to predictions a bit later in the video, but yeah, we'll round off with you. How excited are you for this one? Are you looking forward to it?
I think I am looking forward to it. I think I was said when Ngannou fought Fury, I wasn't too interested. I'm an MMA fan also, and I think one of the reasons why I was so sort of not necessarily disinterested but intrigued was because if you watch Ngannou, even as he was the king of the heavyweights in the UFC, he was very unorthodox. You look at some of his knockouts when he put Jairzinho Rosenstruck to sleep. He was just running after him, swinging wildly, windmilling, and that was the sort of the question marks that would be had. You know, we've seen him in a cage in 4 ounce gloves where he just throws everything, and when he catches you, it is good night sort of thing. But he surprised me against Fury. So I think he's proved he can be in a boxing ring. So AJ, as much as I've been vocal about, you know, not being AJ's biggest fan, an AJ fight week's always a big fight week, no matter who he's fighting. So yeah, I'm a lot more interested now than I was when it was Ngannou's boxing debut, definitely.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think there's a lot of factors here, and I just think it's one of those when it comes to eyeballs, you'll get
Mm.
boxing fans tuning in, you'll get MMA fans tuning in, you'll get just casual sports fans tuning in. So it'll be one of those when, you know, the day of in the office, the day before in the office, people will be talking about it at work, and the day after, people will be talking about it whether they like boxing or not. Owen, I'll stick with you. How big is this fight for Joshua in terms of legacy, in terms of eyeballs? That fight against Klitschko was an iconic fight, 90,000 at Wembley Stadium. Had that big rematch against Andrew Ruiz in Saudi Arabia. She won. Had the two big fights against Usyk, which she lost. How big is this fight? When we're here in 5 years' time and we're kind of reviewing Anthony Joshua's career, do you think we'll bring this one up or not?
I think it depends how you look at it. Personally, I think when you look at the scale of it, eyeballs on this are huge. But I think in terms of legacy, it's right down the bottom. I don't want to say it's a cash grab and a payday, but I felt it was that with Fury, and I do feel it's that with AJ as well, because they know realistically top heavyweights should be beating Francis Ngannou in a boxing ring, and the money it generates, you know, it's stupid really not to. If you say no to it, if you're part of AJ's team, you'd be questioning it, because obviously you're in for a payday as well. I think in 5 years' time we'll be looking at this as probably one of the bigger paydays he's had. But in terms of legacy fights, it's going to be right down the bottom for me. But this is where I mentioned that scale, because the eyeballs on this are massive. It's a huge fight, but in terms of legacy, it's such a small fight. So it's a weird one for me. But I think the whole world will be watching. But in terms of legacy, I don't think it does anything for Joshua's career now.
No. So I can see that that's touched a nerve with Paul. So Paul, I'm going to go to you here. Paul, is that legacy wise right at the bottom? Owen says, would you agree with that?
Maybe not right at the bottom, but I completely understand what he's saying, mate. No, I actually do kind of agree with Owen there. I think, yeah, it's brilliant, and like you'd be stupid not to get the money. What's he getting? Like 40 million or something for this fight, Joshua? Who knows, something ridiculous. When you break it down, you know he's getting paid that much for fight a guy who's had one fight in the boxing ring. You'd be stupid not to. Let's be honest. We would all be doing it. But yeah. So in terms of that, yeah, it's a fight. It's an obvious fight to make, and it's a fight that you want. But yeah, I do actually agree with what Owen said in terms of legacy. You know, when it's all been and done, and Joshua retires, whenever that may well be, and we look back on this, I don't think it's going to be one of the first fights that you think of in terms of, oh, do you remember that night when in Saudi Arabia when Joshua knocked out Ngannou? Or do you remember how good that fight was and he got beat? Well, unless he does get beat, then it's going down in his legacy for all of the wrong reasons. But yeah, I think when you look at the Klitschko fight, when you look at even like the British fight with like Dylan White at the time, and then obviously the two sick fights, probably all of his world title fights, even though they're against names that some people maybe don't have up at the higher level, like your Dominic Brazils and all that there, you'd still have them as more important fights, probably, once it's all been said and done, than this Ngannou fight. So no, I can't wait for it to come back and bite me in the arse.
Yeah. No, we will see. Thomas, I'm interested to see what you have to say here as a as a US based boxing fan. What are your I don't know how, I'll be honest, I don't know how closely you follow the career of Anthony Joshua. Obviously, he's fought in New York in the past, in the States, but we won't go into that, Paul. Don't worry, mate. Thomas, how big is this one for you, do you think, when you compare it to the rest of Joshua's career?
Yeah, it just feels very much like a side mission, you know. It's definitely a big it's a big event, and there's going to be a lot of eyes on it. Um, but like Owen and Paul said, I don't think when 5 years goes by and we're looking back, I don't think we're going to be looking back at this fight unless Joshua loses. So he definitely can't lose this fight for sure. Um, but if he wins, it's just going to be as expected. So
Yeah.
I don't really think not really much to remember there, but we'll see. Hopefully, at the very least, it will be a fun fight to watch.
Yeah, for sure. And look, you could argue that there isn't a big risk here because of Ngannou's capabilities of a boxer, but you could also argue there's a massive risk here because if Joshua loses, there's a big question over what happens next. Does he rematch Ngannou? Does he retire? I think those are probably his two options if Joshua does lose this fight. Thomas, I'll stick with you. Tactics. What's Joshua going to do here? Is he going to go there and kind of just have like a 3-round blowout with Ngannou? Is he going to kind of be wary of Ngannou's power and basically just box around him for 10 rounds and win on points? Without giving away your prediction, what do you think Joshua's kind of game plan and tactics are going to be?
I think that I think he should take the fight to Ngannou. It's not uh, Ngannou is probably a little bit bigger, he's a little bit shorter, but still, I don't think Ngannou's going to be um, anything physically that Joshua can't handle. So I think he's got to take the fight to Ngannou and not really give him so much respect and let him you know box his way and kind of you know ease his way into the fight. I think he needs to take the fight to him, back him up, and like really remind him,
Yeah.
because Tyson Fury doesn't really have that um that knockout instinct, I feel like, or at least not as much as Joshua, right? So, and the punching power too. So I think it's gonna be a different night. I don't want to give too much away, but
No,
I
no,
think
no.
it's gonna be different than Tyson versus Ngannou.
For sure. Prediction, yeah, no, predictions will be revealed. And what I've heard some people say, like as we built up to this fight, is they want to see Joshua put Ngannou in his place. They want to see Joshua reminding Ngannou this isn't his sport, and Joshua to show the world you can't just come into this sport and um and beat me. Basically, that's not going to happen. So we'll see. Owen, what are your what are your thoughts? What do you think Joshua's going to try and do here?
I think it's a hard one to prepare for because obviously, when like Thomas said, I know Ngannou, when you look at him physically, he's probably the bigger man, but he is a little bit shorter. But it's got to be difficult to prepare for someone that's only ever had one professional boxing match, albeit against Tyson Fury. But when you get your sparring partners in, when you look at game plans and tactics, it's got to be difficult to work out sort of what route to go down. I think the first couple of rounds could be quite sort of tentative from both fighters. I think we'd probably see Ngannou being the more forward fighter in the early rounds. But I do have to agree with Thomas. I think Joshua, not necessarily for the sake of boxing, but almost for the sake of his reputation, in the sense that he needs to take the fight to Ngannou. He needs to put the pressure on and say, look, let him almost prove that it was just Tyson Fury almost taking the piss and thinking he'd dance around Ngannou for 10 rounds. So yeah, I think although it'll be a tentative start, I think Joshua's team is almost an anomaly to fight. So I think the only options really are put the foot on the gas and try and stop him.
Yeah, no, look, we'll see. Look, I think the event is titled Knockout Chaos, so we're hoping that's what we're going to see. I think if we don't see a knockout, it could be mildly embarrassing for some people. But we'll see what happens on March the 8th. Paul, what do you think Joshua's going to do here? You probably watched the most footage of Joshua out of the four of us. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I think I agree with what you said. I think you mentioned there about embarrassing. I think the fact that Fury didn't knock Ngannou out is embarrassing, but I don't think we'll have that with Joshua. I think that he 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 realizes what's at stake here. He, as much as it sounds, practically as much as it sounds, kind of like he's not going to overlook Ngannou, but at the same time he's going to look at him and rightly so be thinking, who do you think you are coming over here? I think he's just got to break him down mentally first and foremost. I think Ngannou's like his story is incredible. I know everyone goes on about it, and it is incredible. I think that's where he's so strong up here. But have we ever seen him move backwards on the back foot? There's like he's had some fights. He had a few stinkers in the UFC as well, losing fights to someone like Derek Lewis. Do you know what I mean? Like if you look at if Anthony Joshua backs Francis Ngannou up, I don't think he's going to know what's hit him, really, to be quite honest with you. So if I'm Joshua and I'm Team Joshua, that's the tactics. If I'm Ben Davison, I'm telling him, just do what you did against Otto Wallin, make him feel uncomfortable, back him up, do exactly that, and maybe be able to even stop him quicker because Ngannou won't really know what to do, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I just think, look, what you're saying has reminded me of the Fury and Ngannou fight, which I've not rewatched, I'll be honest, because it wasn't a very good fight. And like Fury, you'd never put it on Ngannou. Ngannou came out of that fight looking like he hadn't been in a fight. And that's why it's just if Joshua does put it on Ngannou, as you said, Paul, Ngannou's just not really experienced that in an actual in a boxing match before. Yeah, a really bizarre 10 rounds we saw back in October between Fury and Ngannou. It's prediction time, chaps. I might have one more question after that. Paul, will stick with you. 30 seconds or less. What happens on March the 8th?
Yeah, mate, Joshua stopping Ngannou. I don't see any other outcome. I think it'll be for the sixth round. I'll probably say around the third, fourth, or fifth. But like, say if he just went out there and kind of took it straight to Ngannou and caught him early, don't be surprised if this finishes in a couple of rounds. That's the way I see this fight going. So yeah, an emphatic Joshua victory. And yeah, he'll look really good doing it.
Owen?
The pendulum has swung in my mind, but I do think it will still go to points. I'm going to go with AJ points. I think the AJ we've seen against Otto Lynn was the best AJ we've seen for years. I think if the AJ that turned up against Franklin or Robert Helenius turned up, then I think Ngannou could cause him problems and put him in danger at points. We got a legitimate knockdown against Fury, so I can see that happening. But based off the AJ that turned up against Otto Lynn, I don't think he'll put the foot on the gas enough to stop him. So I'll be going AJ points.
Thomas?
I'm expecting Anthony Joshua to take this fight, considerably more seriously than Tyson did. Just given, based off of Francis's first performance. So I think that he's going to look good, and I think he's going to stop. I think he's going to stop Francis in about round 5 or 6. I think he's going to take the fight to him, break him down, and like you guys said, remind him that it's not his sport.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm gonna go for Joshua as well. I think it will be a bit later than some of you guys. I think Joshua will just Ngannou just won't have the conditioning that Joshua has, and I think Joshua will wear him down and stop him round 7 to 9. I'm gonna go for. I've got one more question, gents, and I have to ask it because we are seeing some massive fights happen in the heavyweight division. We are hopefully seeing Tyson Fury versus Alexander Usyk, May the 18th. Joe Joyce versus Zhilei Zhang is on the undercard of this fight. And I think, yeah, with all these big fights happening in Saudi, you hope these big fights continue. Seeing as we're all going for Joshua here, who do you think Joshua will fight next? And I'm only going to require a one-word answer here. I'm going to give you 3 options. I'm going to give you for the Tyson Fury fight to finally happen. I'm going to give you the Usyk trilogy, or I'm going to give you Filip Hrgović, or if you want to give me someone else, feel free to. So apologies to put everyone on the spot, but this is what we're doing. Paul, what's on your mind?
Usyk trilogy.
Usyk trilogy. Owen.
Zhilei Zhang.
Interesting. We'll dive into that another time. And Thomas, we'll end with you.
I think the IBF is going to find a way to make Hrgović versus Joshua for the vacant belt.
Okay. Really?
Well, we'll see if they let Usyk. We got a few months.
Yeah.
Keep that belt, but I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up getting stripped from him somehow, and they put it on the line for that fight, or they at least make that fight like a #1 contender or eliminator.
Fantastic. All right, 3 different answers, but we'll see what happens on March the 8th first. Paul, Owen, Thomas, thank you so much for your time, and I will speak to all of you again soon.